A couple quick things I forgot to mention in the first video to avoid some of the learning curve out there and avoid some of the mistakes and errors that I did trying to get this to work as well as it does. Some harnesses have additional attachment points to the frame, say along about right here. If you're going to go with the weight shift, you're only going to want to use 4. The 2 at the shoulders and the 2 where it attaches to the J-bars. If you reconnect those other attachment points, you're going to restrict the movement of the harness. You'll notice on the plans I indicated about 1.5 inch diameter pulley down there. If you go with a pulley that has a tighter radius, you're going to ask that cable to try to bend in a much tighter curve and you won't get that freedom of movement. So about 1.5 inches or larger would be recommended to do that. When I built this, I made this all out of aircraft quality tubing. It's lightweight and it's strong, and for want of what amount of material you're going to be purchasing, I would not recommend going with a lesser material. Also, on any fixed J-bar system, what you're going to want to do, assuming this was originally inserted in the frame in its original position, you're going to want to use this point along the J-bar as your initial reference point, and from there you're going to want to move this pivot point as far aft as possible, depending upon what frame you're trying to adapt it to. The reason being, if this harness was flown in free flight without the engine attached, and you weight shifted, all the points along that harness are going to want to naturally travel in a vertical line. But because you have a pivoting J-bar, this wants to travel in an arc. The wider that arc, the more movement you're going to get. Let's say, for example, I've seen other weight shift systems out there, and they had a piece of flat stock or bar stock that came out about so far. When you go to weight shift, you're not getting the amount of travel that you're going to get out here. So use that original fixed position, and depending upon your frame, move that pivot point as far aft as possible. You'll get a lot more freedom of movement. Another thing to note on the plans, obviously the dimension from the center line of my 2 frames was based upon this, the original Sky Cruiser frame. You're obviously going to need to adjust that distance depending upon your frame. A couple notes I've heard from pilots who've flown this in the past. If you are a paramotor only pilot and you've never flown with a weight shift, the first thing you're really going to notice is you're going to get a lot more feedback from that wing into that seat board that you would normally not otherwise have, because the frame and the mass of your body was otherwise absorbing that. You're going to really feel any bumps in the air in your butt. So that might be a little disconcerting to those of you who have never flown with any weight shift or paraglided before, but that's not to be alarmed about. And as you get accustomed to that, that will give you some feedback as to what the wing is doing above your head, in case you're hitting turbulence or anything like that. Another thing I did to this, unrelated to the weight shift system, I wanted to go with a brighter strobe. I went ahead and purchased a 12-volt aircraft strobe, and because this engine does not have an independent electrical system, I went ahead and went with 2 rechargeable RC car batteries. That gives me about an hour's worth of light on one charge, and is far brighter than you would normally get off the little battery-operated ones you could purchase off the shelf from the electronics store. And I positioned the switch right there. All I could do is bump that with my shoulder up and down, and I could turn that on and off without having to reach around as far, or have a large electrical system going off into a trigger switch or something to that effect. There it is.